Hi, YouTube. This is Margaret. My son Chevy is chilling in the back. Today, I want to talk about single women and traveling alone. When I first got here to Texas, I did a lot of traveling before my son and I came to Texas. But when we first got to Presidio, Texas, the people were very friendly. At least they appeared to be very friendly. And there was a lot of hugs and kisses from men and women. And people wanted to know everything about me. So I just thought it was like a cultural thing where, these people, maybe Mexicans just hug and kiss everybody. But then I realized that they were just filling me out, and they really weren't trying to be friends with us. And that was just like that period was short-lived. But the men, they still liked a lot of hugs and kisses. And I thought that they were, shy, single men, they just wanted to get a hug or something like that. Until I started meeting these men in the stores, in the department stores, in the grocery stores, and their wives would be with them. And then they would basically act like they didn't even know me. And it wasn't like we had any type of relationship. It was just every time they greeted me, they didn't want a handshake. They didn't want a fist pump. They wanted a full-blown hug. And sometimes they would kiss me, smack on the jaw, give me a big, juicy kiss on the jaw. And I thought it was kind of peculiar, but I never really been around a lot of Mexicans. I've always lived where they were sprinkled here and there. And so I just thought, since we had moved to Southwest Texas here in Presidio, that this was how, Mexicans do. This is how they interact with each other. Then I just found out that I was just being made a fool out of. Because when I would meet them on the street or in the store or at the bank, they would be afraid to even speak to me. So I was like, isn't this something? This is crazy. And so I come to the conclusion that as a single woman and you're traveling alone, and when I say traveling alone, I mean you don't have an adult male with you, like an older brother or a spouse or your father, something like that. Or even if you're traveling with other females, people, they tend to be on their better behavior when you're traveling in a small group or you have a male with you. And but as a single woman, when you can't always be with a male because you're single. So I think there's a way you have to kind of you have to position yourself when you're traveling single. You have to be a bit standoff. You can't be too friendly. You can't tell too many jokes. You got to be have the type of posture. That's what I'm trying to say. You need the type of posture where you're letting people know that you're not to be played with. You can be friendly and you can be kind to people, but you have to set boundaries and you have to be serious about those boundaries. Now when I see people, it's just the fist pump or the handshake. I've stopped men in their tracks where they see me, and some of them don't even know my name. I don't think everyone even knows my name, and I know I don't know their name. I'm the only black in Presidio, so a lot of people just know my name because of that. But a lot of times they see me, and as soon as they see me, I can see that they're approaching me and they're getting ready to they bracing themselves for a hug, and I'm like, no, fist pump, or a handshake. I don't know you like that. I'm not trying to get to know you like that. And because as a single woman, people try to take advantage of you. Sometimes they try to take advantage of you in financially in a major way, and sometimes, and a lot of times it's physically. But either way, you don't want to be taken advantage of in a small way or a large way. And so, I have to. I don't joke around as much as I used to when I was living in other places. Because as a single person, especially when you're the minority, when you're the only, if you're the only black person or you're the only white person in a community, you basically have to set the standard for your entire race. Whatever illusions they might have about your particular race, and whether it's true or not, it may not always apply to you. And so I just posture myself to let people know, especially now that I realize that these people aren't as friendly as they portray to be, that I'm not the town clown. I don't laugh at a lot of jokes, especially racial jokes. If you have any type of racial jokes, I'm not interested, because what I've learned over the years is that people, they would tell you a harmless racial joke, or what appears to be harmless, but if you kind of like buy into it, then the next joke is insulting to your race. So that's sort of like how some people set you up, and so I just don't participate in any type of racial slang jokes or anything like that. And so like I said, you can be friendly, but you have to set boundaries, and you have to pretty much posture yourself as a serious individual. And because any type of thing, people like to take any type of thing and try to manipulate it, exaggerate it. I mean, if you drink a beer, somebody is prone to say that you're an alcoholic. And if you, they just take any type of thing and just, because one thing, when you live in a small town or nearby a small town, the people don't have much else to do but sit around and talk about each other's business. And that's the truth. Whether they're gossiping or just passing on information, they spend a lot of time talking about nothing but other people's business. And so when you're in an area like that, things tend to get exaggerated. Just like the little game we used to play in elementary school, you hear one thing and then the person would say something and the next person would add some more to it, and so you get that type of thing going on. And then also I wanted to mention too, if you're not originally a part of a community, especially a small close-knit community like Presidio, and the people here, and I mean there's some nice people, and I have a few friends, I have a few people that I stop and talk and shoot the breeze with. But in general, it's a closed-minded community. So it's like almost anything you do, if you're not doing what they've been doing for the past hundred of years, then they feel like, they treat you like, it's something odd about you because you're not from here and you're not doing what we do. You don't do things the way we do here. And so you kind of treated, they kind of treat you at a distance because of that. And one thing I wanted to mention, I've lived in so many places in America. I've lived in Chicago, Mississippi, Virginia, California, and I've been so many places. No one has ever just walked up to me and offered me drugs. Now, Presidio is supposed to be, they try to impress upon you that like they have a Bible Belt mentality, but that's, that ship has sailed. The gig is up as far as that goes. At least as far as I'm concerned, they have nothing of like a Bible Belt mentality here. And I was wondering, well, why is it that a small town is supposed to only be like 5,000 people the population of Presidio, Texas is like 5,000, maybe 5,000, I think maybe 600, something like that. And you know, they're supposed to be, you know, they portray like they such innocent, like an almost naive group of people, and that's out the window too. You know, that's out the window. But and yet, and you know, and they brag about, well, we haven't had a murder, and that is a good thing. That's good that these guys aren't going around murdering each other and murdering other people and things like that. But they're doing just about everything else, and it's like, okay, well, why is it that people are just that don't know me, and you know, don't know anything about me, not really, and barely even know my name, if they know my name, and they come up to me, just strangers come up to me, and not all the time, but I've had more people offer me drugs in Presidio than I've had in Chicago, New York. This has never happened to me in any of these places, California, Virginia. This has never happened to me, and so I'm like, why? And so anytime, and that's another tip that I think everyone should take, is when whenever somebody says something negative negative to you, or they're passing on negative information, or they're offering you something that seems to be strange and, you know, out of the norm, it doesn't seem normal for them to be doing, always try to figure out, regardless of what your response is to it, you know, just say no thank you, walk away, you know, and go on about your day, or whatever it is you decide you want to do about that. But always ask yourself, why is this person that don't even know me offering me drugs? And I figured it out why. Because in Presidio, they do not want outsiders to have any type of credibility. You know, even though you're new, you have no connections, you have no influence over these people, but they want to nip it in the bud before anything could possibly happen. You know, they want to, they were basically trying to set me up. That's what it was. So they wanted me to say yes. So yeah, you know, and the guy, he was going to give it to me for free. It wasn't like he was trying to sell it to me, you know, and they want you to say, well, yes, yeah, I'll take some marijuana or whatever it is you have, you know. They want you to say yes to it so they can turn around and arrest you. And then so they can tell everybody for the next 2 years, oh yeah, you know, she got busted, she do drugs, and she went, you know, she went to jail, and you know, so that's the type of person you're dealing with. And I figured it out. That's the only reason why someone in Presidio could be inspired to offer me drugs. That's the only reason why. And now that I really know what type of people most of them are, and I realized, yeah, they were just trying to set me up. And people get set up all the time. There's a lot of people in jail right now that, you know, they're in jail because they were set up. They might have made a bad decision. They might have made mistakes. They might have even been a bad person. But the bottom line is, a lot of them was set up to, you know, not saying that whether they deserve to be in jail or not. I'm just saying that they just had somebody to come up to them. And when something is offered to you, you know, for no reason, and it's like this person doesn't gain anything by giving it to you, you know, they're not even trying to sell it to you. You know, that is strange. They don't know you. They're not trying to have sex with you, you know, but you know, so when things jump out of the blue like that, you have to turn the red flag on. You have to think about it. And I mean, I don't do drugs, and this one particular person was offering me marijuana, and he only met me one time at a water fountain. It's not even a water fountain, it's a water spigot where people go to fill up their 5-gallon buckets, or they 5-gallon water jugs. And so, you know, he ran into me once at the water spigot at a public park, And I don't know if he remembered my name or not, because it was one guy that works for the city that I believe he introduced us, just mentioned my name, and I think he might have told me what his name was. I don't know, but this was just some guy, some shady type of character on a bicycle that, they don't know me, and was offering me marijuana. And I was like, that has never happened to me. I've lived in cities and, parts of the city where you can purchase drugs on every 3 or 4 houses. Somebody was selling drugs, but no one has ever just walked up to me and offered me drugs for free. So I figured out, I would bet my last $20 bill that was the case. If I had said yes, then I'm pretty sure that maybe not that particular time, but eventually, if I said yes, maybe once or twice, it was trying to set me up, because there was no, and to me, there's no other reason why someone would do that, to offer somebody, and not especially now that I know how they feel about outsiders in general. So I would just wanted to mention that, and you have to be careful. And single women, I'm not saying you have to be afraid of everything. Don't be afraid of everything. That's one thing they do to try to control single women. They don't like the fact that you're being successful or you're accomplishing things as a single woman without a husband, or without being under the authority of your father or something like that. A lot of male chauvinist men that have that type of mentality, they kind of resent the fact that you're single, you're a woman, and you're making things happen. So you have to be careful, but you don't have to be afraid of everything. You want to travel, you have to keep a certain posture. I don't do a lot of laughing and joking anymore. I don't, I'm friendly, but I don't, just like, this one guy, he invited me to, visit his ranch. And I met him, I met his wife, and he had did some work on the cabin for Shelby and I. And, but no one has invited me anywhere, but the one guy that invited me someplace, he's married, even though I met his wife. So it was like, so you might think, oh, well, she's down with it. She don't care. Go on and play some pool or whatever, No, you have to. And one thing the Bible says, not only do you want to stay away from sin, you want to stay away from the appearance of sin, and so keep in mind that I'm not saying you're trying to tiptoe around anybody. I'm not saying that you have to be worried about what people say, because, I'm way past that. I could care less what people say. And that's another thing that I believe that people resent about me. You can't control me by bad mouthing me. That if, that just doesn't work, because I could care less. And another thing I started, now Shelby and I, we've been living in Presidio for 2.5 years. We actually live in the mountains. We live in Presidio County. We don't live in Presidio Town, the little town of Presidio. They call it a city, but it's a town. But we live 11 miles north of Presidio. And, well, I forgot what I was going to say. But I don't care what people say about me. And so that's another thing, I found out that people kind of resent you, because the whole thing, as a single woman, a lot of people want to find something about you that they can control, or they can use against you, try to degrade you in some way or another. And which is another thing, when we first got to Presidio, a lot of people was trying to sleep with me, and I'm like, and I don't have a problem with telling people I'm 55 years old. I was 52 when we moved to Presidio, And, you know, if you're flirting with me, I used to like to flirt, and but nowadays I don't flirt too much because people want to take it too far. You used to could flirt with a man, and you know he just take it as a compliment. You know, unless you both was trying to make something out of it. But a lot of times back in the day, you could just flirt with people, and you know, and they just be flattered about it. You know, they knew that you were just flirting. You know, sometimes they wife knew you were just flirting. I've had friends where the husband was flirting with me, and the wife was laughing about it. You know, and I was laughing about it. And sometimes I would flirt with him. I've even flirted with the wife sometimes. So I mean, it was like just a way of being friendly, just a way of flattering each other. Sometimes people that had friendship with each other, they just, you know, flirting and playing, you know, and for the most part, they were just playing. But now, you know, a lot of people want to take it too far, or a lot of women, they might be insecure, and they think that you really want, you know, they man, you're trying to get with a little tired husband. And so I just don't flirt anymore. But another thing, as a single woman, I was getting around to say, I'm sorry I kept you guys waiting. Another thing, as a single woman, you have to watch out for is people immediately, they try to make a horror out you, you know, a horror out of you. You know, they try to say, you know, oh yeah, she's loose, I slept with her, you know, like that. Cause and I could tell these guys, they weren't trying to get to know me and have a relationship with me. They were just trying to go to bed with me. And I was like, you know, and they had no regards for the fact that, you know, I'm a single mom, I have a son, you know, I have to carry myself in a certain way. I have responsibilities. I don't have time for games and anything. And they didn't even consider the fact that they don't know me. They don't know what I'm about. If I'm into recreational sex, if I ever been into recreational sex, if I have religion or anything like that, they just, you know, and so the reason I'm bringing this up, because not just because these guys were trying to have sex with me, but this was all about sabotaging your reputation even before you establish a reputation, simply because you're a single woman. So you have to be cautious of that. And if you are looking for a relationship, which I am not, you know, I got too much going on. I don't even have time to focus on something like that, you know. But if you are looking for a relationship and you new to an area, you just moved to the state, and or you just moved to the neighborhood, whatnot, you have to know, you know, be there long enough, take your time, know what type of people you're dealing with first, because I'm telling you, even at my age, I realized that you have to wait and really see what type of people, not just the person that's trying to get to know you or trying to have a romantic interest in you, but the people in general will let you know what type of mentality that you're dealing with. Okay, so traveling, you have to be cautious, but you don't have to be afraid, and you have to network. You know, you're going to have a lot of people. If you're a single woman, and just let's be honest, if you look halfway decent, and believe me, if you just look halfway decent, and what they say, what the young people say now, if you're doable, you know, if and you guys, you know what that means. If you're doable, you have to be cautious. Because you're going to have resentment from other women. You're going to have men trying to run game on you. You're going to have people talking about you, which, like I said, I personally, now, some women really get upset. It really hurts them. It really affect their self-esteem. self-esteem when people speak bad about them. I am not one of them. In fact, I could go home and laugh about what people say about me, because I trust what they used to say. I think it was like 30 years ago. Trust and believe that if you're talking about me, I find it flattering, because that's let me know that a full-grown adult human being has taken their time out of their busy day, to talk about me, whether it's good or bad, whether, especially if it's bad and it's not even true. Even if it is true, the fact that you have made this part of your process of the day, you have made me part of your day in your mind, it's flattering. And I think a lot of women should take that perspective of negative negative gossip about them, because it's all about trying to control you. You're single, you don't answer to anybody, nobody controls you except maybe your children, if you have children, and you have to obey the law, of course. But other than that, you're a free agent. You do what you want. You're making things happen. You're living a positive life. And some people just have a problem with that. And all I can say is that I hope they get over it. I hope they manage to overcome having a problem with my success. But to the single women, travel, ask questions. When you're trying to make something happen, contact as many people as you can. Everybody that I come in contact with, I usually try to get some type of information from. Even if the initial business that I have with this person has nothing to do with other information that I'm seeking. Just like I was talking to this guy on the phone about online classes, and he mentioned that I decided not to sign up with his particular school, but I still got a piece of valuable information, because he was telling me that there's internet access. You can get internet service for like $20 a month. And one of the reasons why Shelby and I don't have internet service on our ranch is because I didn't want to pay $50, $60, $80 a month. $50 a month, that's $700 a year. It might not sound like much, but it all adds up. $700 a year. I'd rather be doing something else. I'd rather be doing something else with $700 a year, other than just able to say, well, I can get online. I can get online. Fortunately, we can still get online when we go to different towns, different cities, and just use the free internet. But he said that there's such a thing as internet service for $19.99. So I checked it out, and yeah, I did. I found a service. I don't have it yet because I just checked it out a couple of days ago, and you can purchase. They have a plan where you have to buy 3 months at a time. So if you want the $15 plan, unlimited talk, unlimited text, and I think it's like 6 gigabytes for $15 a month, but you have to pay the whole $45. I plan on going with the $20 a month, where you get unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 8 gigabytes. And so once we get the service, it'll be, I pay out the $60. And so I'm just saying, that's a bit of information that I had no idea that even existed. So when you're talking to, and that's a good thing, and that's another thing, as a single woman, you have to use your time talking about constructive things. Don't waste time talking with people about foolishness. Whenever if you ever see me standing around talking to somebody at the cash register, at the counter, at their place of business, in the parking lot of their business establishment, I'm seeking information. I'm always seeking information. You have so many people playing games. Avoid those people. Always be on the lookout for people that can pass on some constructive information, some information that you can use, some information that can help you accomplish what it is you're trying to do at the time. And just leave the negative stuff alone. Stay away from negative people. And so yeah, travel. Don't be afraid. Be of courage. Don't be afraid of everything. That's how people. That's how society try to control women. It's like you have to be afraid. When Shelby and I, when we first moved onto our property, onto our 10 acres in the mountains, people say, "Oh well, there's mountain lions there. You got to be afraid of the coyotes. The coyotes are out there, and the javelinas." That's another thing. Before I turn off this video, I wanted to mention too, if you decide to buy a piece of property in a rural area and there's wild animals inhabited the place, keep one thing in mind. Animals do not like human beings, period. Animals do what they can to avoid human beings. Most of the times when you hear about human and animal encounters, it's by accident. It's because the human being was out there and he stumbled upon the animals' place where they live or where they nest, and or you're out there in the dark. Now I've posted plenty of light out there where we live, but at the same time, when night falls, we don't waste too much time outside in the dark. If we're outside in the dark, it's just to go from the house to the car. And that's another thing that lowers the odds of running into animals, is that not to be stumbling around in the dark. And plus, where we live, there's not a lot of large animals. The hunters pretty much cleared them out for us. So it's not a lot of large game out there. There is some, but the chances, if you're familiar with Texas, there is acres and acres and tens of thousands of miles of just land everywhere. And so if there are animals out there, the chances of them coming on to your little 10 acres or your 100 acres, maybe if you have 100 acres, you have to watch out for animals a little more. But chances are you're not occupying the whole 100 acres. And then too, that's another thing. If you don't have livestock on your property, animals attract animals. So if you're thinking about getting you some cheap property here in Texas, keep in mind that if you don't bring any animals with you, that's going to lower your chances of attracting animals to your property. And also, one of the key things of keeping animals off your property without setting traps, without hunting and killing animals, without fencing, your property in and everything. One of the best ways of keeping animals off your property is not to supply any food, water, garbage. Don't even throw paper outside, because some animals eat the paper. Because the way animals work, they send scouts out. So every now and then, there probably is coyotes. I don't think there's enough mountain lions left, if there were any in our particular area. I don't think there were ever any in the area where Shelby and I live. But even if they do cross our property from time to time, they send scouts out. Animals are pretty organized. So they'll send a scout out, and if that scout doesn't find any food or water, he won't come back. And then, but if he does find food and water, he may come back and he may bring his family with him. So that's another thing of keeping your property clear of animals, is that once they, don't do too much outside activity after dark. And 2, keep your property clean from trash and don't supply any water. And 3, and some people are going to have a hard time with this, but don't bring any pets with you. Don't bring, and I'm a dog lover. I wish that we did have I would like to have a dog, a tiny little dog, maybe even one that I could put in my purse just for the fun of it. I just always wanted to do that at least once. But no, see, that would attract coyotes. So but yeah, as the minority and as a single woman, I do not I don't laugh and joke. I don't joke around. I'm not the class clown. I let people know that I don't waste time talking about foolishness, and I don't let people hug and kiss me anymore. And a lot of people was coming up to me and telling me, can I feel your hair? And I just thought, I didn't think much of it, but now that I realize that things aren't as always as it appears to be here in Presidio, Texas. No, it's like, no, you don't need to play in my hair and all that stuff. And the oh yeah, and I think one guy had checked me for wire. I had Shelby and I, we were in town one time, and I was ordering some food in this restaurant. They have pool tables. And so while I was waiting on the food, I decided that I'd play a game of pool, and it seemed like the people there were nice enough. And while I was playing pool, this guy, like I said, I don't know his name. First he touched me on my back, he touched me on my arm, and then he touched me on my back. And this is why I'm trying to play. I'm trying to shoot pool. And then so I was starting to get agitated, but I'm trying not to be the black girl with the attitude. So I'm trying to be be extra patient with these people. Then he put his hand flat on my chest. Then I told him, I told him to stop touching me. And then, as I thought about it, I was like, why did he do that? Because, it wasn't like he was trying to cop a feel, even though he was very close to my breast. But I don't think he was trying to feel my breast. I think he was checking for wire. And so I'm like, why are these people so paranoid? Usually you're not paranoid if you're not doing anything. So what it is that they're doing here, near the border, where everyone is like so paranoid. They want to know everything about you, checking you for, trying to, on the slide, check you for wires and stuff like that. And, so like say, and another thing I've started doing when people, but they pretty much stopped asking me a bunch of questions now. But, one thing before they stopped asking me so many questions every time, Shelby and I would go to town, I would start asking them questions, and come to find out when I would start asking them questions, and this was something that I didn't do before because I don't care, I don't care what other people are doing, but because they were asking me so many questions, then I said, well, let me see what would happen if I start asking them some of the same questions. And so I would start asking them, well, where are you from originally? How long you've been here? Well, what made you come to Presidio? What do you do here? What do your husband do? So I had this thing taped here. So what do you do here? What do your husband do? Or what do your father do? Whatever the case may be. And then I found out that they would become very uncomfortable. So then, you know, that was another red flag. I'm like, okay, you guys, you ask me anything under the sun, but as soon as I start asking you questions, now, you know, you're uncomfortable. So, but yeah, as a single woman, if you're traveling, if I'm getting ready to buy you some property, you know, whether you buy some property in Southwest Texas, like I did, like Shelby and I did, or you find a little better place where it's not, where the terrain is not so harsh. You know, we're in the desert, so, you know, everybody don't want to move to the desert. And in fact, wouldn't have been my first choice, but the 10 acres was so cheap. And so then once we owned the 10 acres, I was like, you know, let's move on it, because one thing I've always wanted to do was live on my own property. And but yeah, but don't be afraid to do it. You know, wherever you decide, whether you want to move to California or Florida, there's property, I'm sure, on the outskirts of New York. You know, get you some property. You know, that's where it is. And back in the day when you know, America was young, that was the name of the game. Whether you had surplus money, whether you had a lot of money or just a little bit of money, you was considered wealthy if you were a landowner. And understandably so, because, you know, you own land, at least you will always have a place to call your own. And you may work for somebody else, but if they become unreasonable, you know, you might have to tighten your belt a little bit. You might have to do something else, but at least you have a place to live, and you're not just taking any type of junk off of people because, you know, you're paying mortgage. You know, you work for somebody else, you're paying the mortgage to somebody else, and well, you know the drill. So yeah, get you a piece of land, and then you can always you know, once you own the land, then you can free up your finances or save up money to buy you another piece of land in another location. But you single women, be of courage. Take your time with getting to know these people. Don't make friends too quick. Friends are nice, but the wrong friend, it's better to have no friends than to have the wrong friends. Thank you, YouTube.